So right off the bat, an AI-generated project image is a telltale sign. Is it part of the comics Kickstarter community? You want to back projects. So that's another telltale sign that this is not a legit project or creator. Another sign is very generic creator bios. None of these projects have project updates. The update is one of the most powerful things that you can use during a campaign to keep your backers engaged. But these projects are soulless. None of these projects seem to be disclosing that they are using what is obviously AI art, which means they are violating Kickstarter's terms of service, which means they should be shut down. It's going to be a juicy one. It might get your blood boiling a little bit. It got my blood boiling a little bit once I dove into it. But this is one that about what seems to be a sudden proliferation of, I'm going to argue, spammy, fraudulent projects on the Kickstarter platform that are clearly made possible by AI technology, not just AI art, but also a chat GPT style generative text. And I am wanting to bring this up because this is something that could be problematic. And so we're going to talk about this. And this was something that actually came as a result of me getting an email from a ComixLaunch listener. Shout out the ComixLaunch podcast. Comes out every Sunday, wherever you listen to podcasts. ComixLaunch for ComixLaunch. Just search for it, get it in your feed, listen to it each and every week. But this came from a listener. And so here's what the email said. It said the title was Kickstarter AI Projects. And so that was the subject line. And, before I clicked on it, I'm thinking, I wonder if this person's going to ask, hey, are AI projects okay on Kickstarter? Can you launch AI projects on Kickstarter? Or maybe it's a question about, have I seen AI projects on Kickstarter, or what are my thoughts on it? And AI is a big topic. It's a hot topic. It's a controversial topic. It's a topic that a lot of creators have very, very strong feelings about. And so I wasn't even sure I was going to open that email or get into it because that can send you down a rabbit hole. But turns out I opened it and it did send me down a rabbit hole. But here's what the creator named Matt said. He said, "Hey, Tyler, just wanted to share because I've never seen anything like this before on Kickstarter. There's 8 new projects by first-time creators, and it all feels bot/AI generated from start to finish. At a minimum, they all seem to share the same campaign format. The creators have zero backing of other projects, very short time frames, and then there's the telltale AI art of it all. Even giving them the benefit of the doubt that these are legit, the smallest amount of research would tell them what the bare minimum is needed for a project to succeed. Assuming fake, what would the end goal for doing this be? It all seems weird. I appreciate your thoughts. Cheers, Matt." And so, hey, first, thanks, Matt, for listening to the show and reaching out and giving me something to talk about today. And my first reply to Matt was, hey, man, send me some links and I'll take a look at them. But then I was curious, if Matt was able to pick these projects out as obviously AI, maybe it would be pretty easy to see exactly what he's talking about. And so what I did based on what he shared to me is I just hopped on Kickstarter, clicked on the comics tab, and then I used my filters and sorted live projects and then sorted by newest, because he said these projects all popped up relatively recently. And so I scrolled through a few and there's some, real projects here. This one from Simon Burks. He's a creator that is in the ComixLaunch Pro program and community. And so I know that he's a real project. I know that he's a real project. But after scrolling through a little bit, I did notice, oh, wait a minute, what's this right here? What exactly is going on here with this project right here? And I noticed how, wait a minute, what exactly does this say? The project is named Quantum Detective, but this is the Montum Metropolontum. Yeah, it's just nonsense. And I know that one of the telltale signs of AI art is that it is not very good at writing actual English. It just has the ability to replicate something that looks a little bit like text, but is not actually text, and the text doesn't actually represent what's over here. And then the project right next to it, the timekeepers, kind of has the same thing. This text looks a little bit like timekeepers, but that's not how you write timekeepers, and that doesn't look like a legitimate logo. And then the subtitle is absolutely nonsense. So right off the bat, here's a couple. And then the next crew, like this one looks a little, well, this one looks like, all right, maybe this is a real one. The enchanted artifacts, I can't really see that. And this one, the magical marketplace. I mean, these just from the project image, could this be real? From the project image, could this be real? Sure, okay. This one, maybe not. This one as well. So I'm looking at these projects, and I'm noticing a couple of other things just about these projects. One, like all of the or a bunch of these creators have first name, middle initial, last name. 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 Now, I know a lot of creators do go like that, but it's not the most common thing. And so like that was a little bit of a tell for me. And so I started opening up these projects and taking a look at these projects and just doing a quick scroll through, and I noticed that, much like Matt said, so many of these projects had a very similar structure and a similar setup. Sometimes they had they started with a video, but they had small sections, some art, and they looked quite similar in their structure. And so I'm looking at a bunch of these and I'm like, okay, they're not all exactly the same, and the content is more or less around what the project title is, but these projects look very, very similar in terms of the structure. And this is not like the most common Kickstarter structure of how projects are structured. So that was weird. So this is setting out a lot of bells, and so my take as of right now is that there are at least 8, if not more, projects on Kickstarter right now that all seem to be soulless projects, spammy projects. And so, what I want to go over with you right now is how to identify AI generated spam projects. Because the reality is, when I look at this list of telltale signs of AI generated spammy soulless projects, any one of the signs that I'm going to share with you here would not necessarily be absolute confirmation or proof that it is a spam project. And, but the more of these that you have, the more likely it is that these projects are actually not legit and not spammy. Before I get into this, though, it is worth noting that Kickstarter does allow AI art and AI technology to be used to launch projects. It does. But one of the things that it requires is that you detail in detail how AI is being used for each for AI projects when you use AI. And one thing that I noticed is that none of the projects that I am calling out as AI generated projects, none of them have declared how they are using AI. So this image right here for the quantum detective, clearly an AI image. They did not disclose that this is an AI image. So this project should potentially be in violation of Kickstarter's terms of service just on its face. So that is something that, and we'll talk about, whether or not we should report these and what we should do about these kinds of projects. But let me talk about how to identify some of these AI generated spam projects. What are the telltale signs that what we're dealing with is they not like us, okay? That these are spammy AI generated projects. So one of the first telltale signs that I mentioned is that the project image is using a clearly AI generated project image. This image, which if you look at it quickly, it's a beautiful art. It's nice, stylist, cyberpunk, cool. Visuals, the color's nice, but when you look closely, it has some of the issues that AI art has. It has the text that is nonsense text. If you look at the text on the wall, nonsense writing for the text that's on the wall for these newspaper images. Other project images, this one less totally noticeable AI, except for there's some extra hands and arms and weird arm artifacting going on here. So if you look closely, you can tell that. Again, this is one where the title, it got the title right, but the subtitle doesn't make sense and it doesn't match. And usually you would have the spirit of the forest here is the title, and then usually you would have the name of the writer maybe underneath it, but where the writer name is nonsense text that doesn't match the writer of the project or the project creator. Here's another one also with some nonsense writing in it and really wonky hands, which we know is a telltale sign of AI art. So right off the bat, an AI generated project image is a telltale sign. Now, again, Kickstarter will let you use AI generated images for your Kickstarter project image as long as you disclose it. But they didn't disclose it here. So that's number one. Number two is that one thing that I noticed with most of these projects is that they have an unrealistic project goal, usually 5 figures. So Quantum Detective, 5K goal. All right. That Adventure in a Parallel World, 10K goal. Witch Hunter, 20K goal. The Spirit of the Forest, 25K goal. The Time Traveler's Diary, 14,999 goal. Forgotten Kingdom, $12,000 goal. The Cyberpunk Chronicles Rebellion in the Neon City, $25,000 goal. The Forgotten Realm, $20,000 goal. The Darkness of the Moon, $12,000 goal. And these are all examples of projects where their project goal, with the exception of Quantum Detective, which is a 5K goal, all the other projects, while there are plenty of projects out there that will set their goals there and actually hit them, these project goals compared to what they've done since launching is so far out of whack that it was clear that either they were clueless about how the Kickstarter platform works or the kinds of audience that you need to have to hit a goal like that. And it just seems like it's an arbitrarily set goal at much higher than it should be. So again, none of these projects are funding, and we'll talk a little bit about that. That's not the main issue that we're dealing with, but that is something that a really unrealistic 5-figure goal would be a telltale sign for that a project might be off. All right. Now, the other thing that all these projects have in common is, or most of these projects have in common, I should say, is that most of the project creator is a first time. This is the first created project, and they have backed 0 projects before. So we're seeing now this one. Let's check out Sandra, because I'm saying Sandra is not real. And she actually is the only one I've seen that has 2 projects created. And it looks like the last time she created a project, she ended up canceling the project. So this project was canceled on August 10th, and it looks like she relaunched it a couple days later. Okay, so this project, even though they have 2 projects created, it was the same project launched a couple days ago by the same creator. So it's still only 1 project created. Oh, this is a project that was launched. Okay, that's one I just looked at. The Witch Hunter here. So this one is another one, first created, 0 backed. Another one, first created, 0 backed. First created, let me guess, this project by Rachel is first created, 0 backed. We have The Forgotten Kingdom, which is by Matthew J. Condon, first created, 0 backed. So again, you're going to see a lot of first created, 0 backed on these. The next telltale sign is that rarely will you find a photo of the creator and there's really no face behind the project, no actual human face behind the project at all. So Matthew J. Condon, his project creator image is of looks like AI generated art of a female, not usually a name for Matthew. David A. Gillespie looks like AI generated fantasy imagery of a female. We have Felicia has an image of a baseball field. We have Jason T. Cantrell, and this project, The Darkness Under the Moon, is raising has actually got two backers, pledged $603, but again, just a weird graphic image for his project profile image. And then if you scroll down any of these pages, you won't find a single human face anywhere in anywhere on here. You won't find a real picture of anyone on the creative team, not the project, not the writer, not the artist, not anyone on the team, not the publisher. So that's definitely a serious telltale sign that these projects aren't legit. The other thing, yeah, so I said first, so these creators also, as I mentioned, zero backed. In most cases, they haven't backed the Kickstarter project. Like, in fact, none of these creators that I'm flagging here have ever backed a Kickstarter project. And if you've been listening to the ComixLaunch podcast for any time, you know backing the project definitely helps to know the platform and to be seen as a valid user of the platform and as a part of the comics Kickstarter community. You want to back projects. So that's another telltale sign that this is not a legit project or creator. Another sign is very generic creator bios. Now, again, this is the sneaky thing that makes generative and AI word processing tools difficult. It's like it would be very easy hop on ChatGPT and generate some, you know, realistic sounding bios. And so, for example, this project creator is named Maisha Baker from Ontario, Canada. Of course, just a AI generated fantasy image for her profile name, but her bio is, we are a team of passionate creators specializing in sci-fi and mystery genres. With a background in both artistic and storytelling excellence, we bring a unique vision to our project. All right. Pretty generic sounding bio, but it did was English, right? And so it wasn't gobbledygook. Sandra, who's a creator for another one of these projects, about me. I am a passionate creator with years of experience in the comic industry. Together with a talented team of artists and writers, we are dedicated to producing high quality, unique stories. That's Sandra. This next project, The Witch Hunter by Alan. I'm a passionate creator with years of experience in the comic industry. Together with a team of talented writers and artists, or together with a talented team of writers and writers, we are dedicated to producing high quality, unique stories. Wait a minute, didn't I just read that same bio? What are the chances that Alan R. Duros in from Fishers, Indiana, would write the exact same thing or paraphrase it as another creator that also launched at the same time or around the same time? What are the chances, right? And so I pulled up a word cloud just of these bios. I popped in all like 8 bios of these projects, and the word dedicated and passionate and talented were and team were in like most of these bios, right? And it just seems like, I don't know, these don't necessarily seem like the most common unique or most common words that I would see in creator bios. I've looked at a lot of Kickstarter creator bios over the years. All right. So yeah, again, generic bios. And then the other thing is though, even though most of these say they've got a, professional, background and background in excellence, lots of experience, no actual credits for actual projects from actual publishing companies anywhere to be seen on these projects. And that is definitely a big red flag as well. So, number 7, no video at all, or when they have a video, it's not tailored to the campaign. So most of these projects just have project images, no video. And in fact, I don't know that any of these none of these projects actually uploaded a Kickstarter video. So that makes me think, well, if this was a program or a bot that's doing this, maybe they just didn't have the ability to upload a video. But a couple of the projects did have YouTube videos. And so this project for Spirit of Forest, now this YouTube video is of an artist drawing. And so it's a nice drawing, and the name of the account on YouTube is the same is so Rosemary is the name of the artist on the project, and she has a YouTube account for Rosemary G. Durham, and a little bit of information about the book. But this is literally the only video that was updated 4 days ago. So there's a good chance that the YouTube account was created just to upload this one video, which is a little odd. I don't know. And then very similar to the Witch Hunter. The Witch Hunter
Copying, I'm adapting what I learned from
doing the same thing over here. And they're uploading a video of an artist. If I click on their YouTube account and check out how many videos, oh, look, they don't have any content. And it looks like they were just sort of pulling a video from another creator, I think. So they're stealing content from other creators to make this as well, which is kind of heinous. So no project video, or when they do have a project video, it's not actually tailored to the campaign, would be another thing that is a telltale sign here. Now, I think I already called this out as a telltale sign, is that they've got like a near identical page format to other projects that are on there. And that's not, that's not always a telltale sign. I know my buddy Joel Rodriguez from Metal Ninja Studios, he has kind of a format that he likes to use. And some studios that launch a lot have like a go-to format that they'll copy. But this one has a lot of like, instead of using Kickstarter's built-in and whatnot, it seems like they're using a lot of or stars in their formatting. And I guarantee you, if you go through and look at a bunch of these projects, you're going to find a lot of the same phrases, same things in there. So another thing, just looking like they're copying and pasting from other projects or using the same style of stuff for these other projects. Another thing that for a comic book project should be an absolute telltale sign is we've got all these comic projects, right? Not a single comic book preview of actual comics, actual lettered sequential storytelling. Not a single one on these pages. Sure, they have some beautiful AI generated art that peppers the page and makes it so that, again, on a quick flip through, oh, the art looks decent or whatnot. But you won't find a single lettered page of sequential art on any of these projects. And that is, again, it's a no-no for what we real human beings that want to launch actual comic book projects on Kickstarter. We know the importance of getting our lettered previews up there on the Kickstarter page so that backers can read it, see it, know that you're good for it, and can actually do it. So this one, I'm looking at this, the Time Traveler's Diary, and it has some comic style art, but there's nothing to read. Nothing to read. No previews, no anything. And this, they actually, so this one actually, this project looks like it does have some comic previews, but I guarantee you, if I zoom in there, this is not real text. It's just it's designed to look like text, but it's not real words. And yeah, so we're seeing a noticeable lack of comic text. Another thing, just a small thing, none of these projects have project updates. The update is one of the most powerful things that you can use during a campaign to keep your backers engaged. But these projects are soulless, so they are not trying to engage any actual real human beings because they are not human beings themselves, is my guess. Limited number of pledges. Most of these have 5 or under pledges, which is a little bit low for what most comic book creators do on Kickstarter. Most of them have a few more options, and the I'm noticing a shocking similarity between the pricing structure: 10, 25, 50. This project here, it has 10, 25, 50, 100, 250. Okay. This project here, Darkness Under the Moonlight, 10, 25, 50, 100. This project over here from Rachel, 1, 10, 20, 51, 250. Okay, so still about five rewards, but a little bit different. That's something. Rosemary, 10, 25, 50, 100. Again, nothing, just having that structure for your rewards doesn't mean your project is fake, but seeing all of these projects that share so many other similarities also mirror or have a similar pricing structures, again, raises a flag. And then the last thing that I'll just call out is all of these projects, because they're using AI art technology, which can be impressive and on a, just, hey, generate me an image, it can be impressive. Most of these pages have interesting, compelling, first look, eye grabbing images, but the images are rarely connected in a coherent way to what they're talking about. So for example, like this project has a bunch of sort of similar art styles, and then at the end just kind of a random a random swan that's covered in gems, which is just really weird. And you again, when you look at any of these projects, it just doesn't make it, the images that they use, they don't make a ton of sense, even if, for just a quick image that feels like an anime or something that looks good. Okay, great. But they're just not real images. So, point being, most of you, I've driven this home. I think there's a lot of these telltale signs of spammy AI driven projects that are soulless, that don't seem to have a real human being behind them. And they're pretty easy to spot once you go looking for them. And especially when you can see them side by other examples of these projects. Now, what's the deal here? Why would someone be doing this? Because we looked at all of these projects and none of these projects look like they have any chance at funding. So it doesn't appear that this is, if this is a way to make money, it doesn't seem like it's a great one to make money. And so why would somebody bother doing this? Theory number one is someone is tackling this as like a computer science engineering challenge, right? I can imagine someone bored with too much time on their hands, a programmer, and just wondering, hey, could I build a program that can tap into AI generating art programs and that can use the freely available or paid tools that are out there? Could I build a program that could that could create a complete Kickstarter project and with a couple clicks of the button, get it past Kickstarter's screening process? If I was a programmer type, and I could see that as like a cool challenge, right? I could see that being like, all right, I'm going to write a script that's going to be able to generate projects from the project title to the description, write a script that can create a limited number of rewards, write a script that can generate bios, and then also submit that through Kickstarter. Now, I'm a little bit curious whether or not they would have to also hook up Stripe accounts and bank accounts and all of this stuff. I can't see how they got through the Kickstarter process without doing that, and it would be pretty impressive, I guess, if that they were able to do that, but I'm sure that technology exists. So perhaps this is just some bored programmer trying to tackle the challenge of, hey, let's see if we can, write a script that can generate false Kickstarter projects. And that's just the be all and end all of it. Maybe. Another theory is, hey, this is a good way to scam people for their money. Lots of projects make a lot of money on Kickstarter. If I go over to the stats, I can see that right now on the comics category alone, there is, let's see, live dollars. There's 2.3 or $2.03 million going pledged right now for comic book projects. That's a decent chunk of change. And so perhaps this is just iteration one of an ultimate scam job where they're trying to get this bot that they're building to generate these projects good enough so that they can actually fool the Kickstarter backers. Now, if you've been listening to ComixLaunch, you know that launching a project on Kickstarter and then expecting that project to find a massive audience on Kickstarter is not how it works. It's not how it really ever worked. Kickstarter is the venue. You, my friend, are in charge of the guest list. And so if this bot is not also building big audiences, warming those audiences, getting those audiences excited for the project that's coming, well, those projects are still going to probably languish. Now, they might get a couple of backers. A couple of these projects have 1 backer, 2 backers, 3 backers, but most of these projects, 4 backers here for Cyberpunk Chronicles, but most of these projects, no way they would come close to funding. But who knows? This could just be wave one. Some of these projects have discovered, oh, maybe we can raise 500. If we can't raise 12,000, well, what if we can raise 300? Because we'll get a few people. But if we do that, every day and it's automated and doesn't take a lot of time or effort, maybe it's a scam where they can get this going and ride it while they can. And then the last theory of it, if maybe it's not an engineering challenge, maybe they don't actually think this is a way to make money. Maybe this is an attack on Kickstarter. This is probably the more conspiracy-minded way, but Kickstarter is a platform that is the market leader for creative project crowdfunding. They have other competitors out there, and Kickstarter is also a company with an ethos, principles. They're a for-benefit company. They have banned some projects that they've felt are controversial and not in alignment with their ethos. Maybe this is a way to just fill up their platform with some fraudulent projects, waste Kickstarter's time, waste backers' time, create a worse experience on the Kickstarter platform, and thus bring down Kickstarter. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not really sure which of these theories I subscribe to. My guess, just looking how similar these projects is it might just be one actor. I don't know that there's a proliferation of different actors or different people out there that are running these projects and creating these projects and uploading these projects and going to the trouble. This doesn't seem like an immediately profitable endeavor. So it would be very surprising to me if this is like a common thing from multiple different sources. But who knows? Maybe, there could be somebody out there trying to sell his or her Kickstarter generating project software that lets you generate really fast projects really quickly. If you have a theory, let me know. Well, what's your theory? And then also, if you happen to be any of these creators that I have suggested is a soulless bot or automaton and completely fraudulent for all the many reasons that it seems obvious that you are fraudulent and that you are not a real person who you are. But if Maisha Baker, or who else do we have? Sandra or Alan R. Duros, if any of you are actually real human beings and I've somehow got this wrong or unfairly maligned you, hit me up, shoot me a DM, leave a comment on this YouTube video and explain yourself and how your project could be so easily confused with that of a robot. All right. So I'm hoping that this is not the new trend and that this might be just kind of one pernicious or one malfeasant actor out there that is trying to cause some trouble. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is this a big deal? And some might say, well, if these projects don't fund, no harm, no foul, right? And honestly, I totally disagree with that. Kickstarter, unfortunately, already had a spam backer problem and already has a spam backer problem. This is where you launch a project and most creators have the experience where at least a couple projects seem too good to be true, and often they are. These are backers that might pledge big, but then lower their pledge in the middle of the campaign, sometimes raise it back up again, then lower it, then back up again, then cancel completely, or backers that back but with the intention to ask for a refund, and actually they never had any intention of backing, or they back consistently and then their credit cards never ever get charged. These are, malfeasant backers, backer trolls. We've called them a lot of things over the years. So Kickstarter had a problem with spam backers. Kickstarter also has had a problem with spam messages that come from social media experts and people that want to promote your campaign on your behalf and want to help your campaign, when in most cases what they're offering is not terribly helpful, and it's just a good way to spend money on something that doesn't generate a lot of results. So Kickstarter creators have been dealing with that for forever, but this takes things to a whole new level. Spam creators on the Kickstarter platform make it so much worse. It is right now, without these kinds of projects, any given time you launch a project on Kickstarter as a creator, you're dealing with and competing with some 200 to 300 odd projects. Right now, there's 279 live projects as I'm recording this over on Kickstarter. 279 projects. That's a lot of competition. And if you notice, when you go to Kickstarter Explore, there's only room for 3 projects across above the fold. If you go on Kickstarter's main page, even if you're a comic book fan, there's a limited number of projects that are going to be recommended for you. There's a limited number of projects that are going to be on the main page or the front page of Kickstarter. And so if this starts getting filled up with even a small percentage, 10 to 20 fake projects every single month, well, that's going to make a big impact and make it even harder for hardworking, true creators that are serious about this thing, that are putting their own money, that are putting their own talent, that really believe in their projects. It's going to make it even that much harder for those creators to stand out, to get traction, and to get backed. This will also have a bad experience for backers who might come across projects that look cool on the surface. They back them and then realize that there was never any intention for these projects to get made. And then the worst case scenario, if these bots get really, really good, if these programs start making projects that are good enough to fool people like me that have been at this for a while, and these projects have no intention of ever delivering rewards, which I don't think any of these projects that I mentioned have any intention of getting funded and hitting and delivering on their rewards. Well, what's that going to do to backer confidence on the platform? And then the other thing that someone like me especially doesn't like is that one of the best things about Kickstarter is that since the very beginning, it's been a very transparent platform. Kickstarter stats are something that I have used and I dive into. I mean, I already just dove into them just a minute ago on this show. And one of the stats that I've been charting and looking at since the very beginning of ComixLaunch is that success rate of projects. And we've talked about how the comics crowdfunding success rate has just continued to go up and up and up over the years, to the point where right now the comics has the highest success rate of any project category. But if every month now you're getting 10 to 20 fraudulent projects that never have any intention or chance of succeeding because they're generated by these bots that aren't real. But if that counts, if that goes into this project success rate, we might see the comics category success rate start to dip, and that may start leading to commentary about, oh, well, actually the Kickstarter bubble is popping and it's actually so much harder for project creators to get their projects funded. Again, it's just bad data. And I hate seeing bad data muck with good. And honestly, I'm still pissed off that last year when I tried to do a real survey of my audience, over 600, 700 bots basically brute force attacked my survey, filled it up with, at first glance, what looked like legitimate responses, but at second glance, it was clearly, AI driven gobbledygook, and basically made it so that my survey was almost unusable and not worth the time and effort that I put into doing it, and not worth your time and effort, the Comics Launch listeners, for putting into it. So again, these AI tools are filling up and making it really easy to muck with what is otherwise good information. And so I'm not really happy about that aspect of it. All right. And so I guess the last thing is, what, if anything, can or should we do about this? And so I actually already reached out to a contact that I have over at Kickstarter on the technical side of things. And I was just wondering if this is something that the team knows about, they're worried about, and they're paying attention to. And hopefully we'll get some good responses there. The other thing that we can do is we can report these projects. I think the nice thing about all of these projects is that they are clearly in violation of Kickstarter's AI disclosure policy. And so even if we had no ability to absolutely 100% prove that these projects from start to finish weren't legitimate, because none of these projects seem to be disclosing that they are using what is obviously AI art, they're not disclosing it, which means they are violating Kickstarter's terms of service, which means they should be shut down until they fix that and come back and try again with something that is better. And so I want to encourage everyone out there, when you see projects like this, projects that you just do not look right, that seem off, report them. Kickstarter is a platform and a community for creators. And I want to say, AI tools out there, they are amazing, right? Like they can be very fun to play with. It is kind of awesome to be able to think in your head, 4 or 5 disconjoint elements of a image, right? And type that in, and within seconds have that show up right in your face. Like, that's a pretty cool thing. It is very awesome to at your fingertips have what feels like an artificial intelligence assistant that can answer any question, that can do, often seem like impossible tasks, or tasks that would take human beings hours, if not weeks, if not months, and they can do them nearly instantaneously. I'll be honest, it's very, very cool. But this is a platform for creators. It's not a platform for bots. And we need to keep it that way. And we need to police this community some. And so if this means that Kickstarter might need to make it more difficult to submit projects, or if the screening process needs to be enhanced, well, that might be worth it to keep this crap, for lack of a better word, off the platform. I am surprised that all of these projects passed the screening of the Kickstarter team. And so hopefully I'll be able to get someone from the Kickstarter screening team to explain, how they missed what seemed to be pretty obvious red flags between these projects and the set of projects that have all sort of launched recently that look like they're mirroring one another and doing the thing. But also with the volume of projects that come through Kickstarter's gates, and with the sophistication now of the tools that AI is giving people out there, I'm not 100% gonna get on Kickstarter's case for not cracking down on these, because I'm sure the deluge is coming. And I think just about all major platforms are dealing just with this onslaught of spam and stuff that can seem at first glance pretty convincing, but which thankfully still fails under the careful eye of judicious, well-trained, well-honed creators and crowdfunders like us. So there you have it. I wanted to jump on, do a live stream about this topic, because Comics Launch listeners were asking about it, and because this is something that we definitely got to bring to the attention of the crowdfunding platforms out there and battle back against, so that worthy projects like the project that I have up right now with my good friends John Lees, Alex Cormick, Sean Lee letterer, it's called Sync Just Desserts. It is 100% human made. and a lot of fun. And so if you like books like John Wick or Punisher or Sin City, if you like horror stuff like Harrow County or some violent stuff like Kill or Be Killed or Scalped, Sync is really going to be a comic that you're going to love. You can grab that over at comicstribe.com/sync. We have 3 backers as of this recording, 11 days to go. This is just our second week. It's a shorter than usual campaign, just about 18 days for this one, because we want to not have a long time before getting fulfillment rolling and getting this into backers' hands. And I have some other really cool projects coming out in 2024 still. And so we need to make some room on the runway to get all the good comics out there for the backers out there.